Now, lesson 6 will focus on the original or fixed budget as well as the flexible budget. Now, talking of the fixed budget and original budget, I had explained in lesson 1 that when it comes to fixed budget is that budget that you prepare and remain like that for the whole period. But when it comes to the the flexible budget, it's a budget that is prepared with respect to the actual level of performance or actual level of production. That it is just the original budget, but having, let's say, having prorated either downwards or let's say upwards, depending with the actual production. So it is the same original budget, but we try to get the duplicate of that, but at a lesser or at a higher volume. Normally, we say when it comes to flexible budget that we require to compare apple to apple, but not things which are not related. So we want to compare not a budget of 20,000 units and the actual statement of like say 15,000 units. Those are not comparable. We would want to tone down our original budget maybe of 20,000 to, let's say, a 15,000 level, just like the actuals. That now it become actual, it become apple-to-apple comparison. That is actually the spirit concerning the flexible budget. The only problem is that this flexible budget is prepared at the end of the period, having obtained the actual level of production. So that is the only problem, although you prepare with the conditions that were prevailing at the time of preparing the original budget. So if it was known in advance, it would have been the original budget is still the flexible budget if the actual production is the same as the budget production. But it's because of the difference in production budgeted and actual that we come up with the flexible budget. In some cases, a company can prepare several budgets for different levels of production. Let's say a budget for 20,000, a budget for 15,000, a budget for maybe 10,000. And as long as we are going to operate at any of the three levels, then of course we'll be having an original budget and compared with the actual, because the original budget available with the actual, they are comparable. Otherwise, if you have only one budget, you end up preparing a flexible budget. So we'll discuss more. Let's have a question. And this question reads that, Ujuzi Limited operates a standard marginal cost accounting system. The information relating to product X, which is manufactured in one of the company's departments, is given below. Required, prepare in columnar format the original budget, flexed budget, and actual profit statement. So you prepare those budgets and actual statement. So in our preparation, you're going to have this. This is actually the income statement. Income statement. So here we are having the details. We are having the original budget. We are having the flexed budget. We are having also the actual. And we also include the variance for comparison purpose. I would want to also do the variance here just because of comparison purpose. Otherwise, variance analysis we shall do in the next topic, which is standard costing. But for now, I just want to have a comparison. And anytime you're comparing the original or either the budget and the actual, that difference you get is what we refer to as variance. So we do have, these are the details. This original budget, this is the flexible budget, This is the actual budget because the actual statement we don't require. We have been given the information about the cost. So we don't require to have a lot of calculation in terms of cost. Then you have the variance here. Now, let's see. I shall begin with the sales. The original budget is based on what we had planned at the beginning, which we had planned 20,000. 20,000 has been given in the information number 3. 20,000 units, each at information number 4, 440. This is going to give us 800, which is 8,800,000. Flexed budget. The flexed budget capacity or volume is the same as actual, and therefore the actual level of production and sale information number 5 is 18,500, but it must be at the same budget cost or budget profit price of 440. So should we multiply this? We get 18,500 as the actual level of production. We multiply by the 440 as the budget price. Our income will be 18,500 times 440. That is 8,140,000. This 8,140,000. Remember, if you can be able to know the flexible multiplier, there is a multiplier or a factor we can use. Like now we say that the actual is 18,500 divided by the 20,000, which is actually 0.925. That means we produced and we operated at 92.5% of the original expectation. That means we can take this budget the way it is. Everything we multiply by 92.5%. Should we multiply this one by 92.5%? This is 8,800. This is giving us 8,140. That is how the flexible budget is. So we are flexing. We are prorating the original budget at that level of actual production. But in actual sense, we sold 18,500 at 480. That is actually the actual sales in units and in price. 18,500 multiplied by 480. This is giving us 880,000. 880,000. Now, this variance column is just to understand the difference between what we expected for that level of 18,500 and the actual for the same level of 18,500. This is what we call apple to apple. So when you're comparing these two, this is now apple. This is apple to apple comparison. We are comparing apple to apple. So this will be 8140 minus 880. That means we made some 740,000 favorable variance. Why favorable? We made more money. These are sales, income. 8.8 is more than 8.1, and that is the best comparison. And like when you compare 8.8 million original budget and the 8.8, that we say that somehow we have only an 80,000 difference. 80,000 is on the lower side and actually is a poor comparison. We don't compare the original budget and the actual if the level of production are different. We have to prepare the flexible budget. But if, for example, we produced the same 20,000, we don't require the flexible budget. We would have the original and the actual compared. Anyway, that's all about sales. We have less cost, so we have less costs. So the cost here, we do have the direct material cost. So first of all, I would want to have, and I do for you, about the direct materials quantity. I do for you the quantity first. The quantity that we were expected to use, so that at least we know what is original and what is flexible, we were. If you look at the budget, the standard cost up there, standard cost card, direct materials were 6 kgs per unit. Meaning, we were to produce 20,000 units and each unit takes 6 kgs. This is 120,000 kgs that we are budgeting, and therefore this is, I'm double-lining because it was just mere information. But when you come to the material cost, so direct material cost, we take the 120,000 kgs. Each we were to spend how much as per the budget? We were to spend 40 shillings. And therefore this is going to give us the 4,800,000 as our, this is 4,800,000 as our cost. So I've shown you first of all the budgeted quantity, and I have now the budget cost of 4.8 million. Then I have the flexible budget. To produce 18,500 and we need 6 kgs. This is going to give us how much required quantity. So this is going to give us 18,500 multiplied by 6. This is 111,000 kgs. We double line that. But the cost will be 111,000 kgs each at 40 shillings, which is actually 4,440,000. 4,040,000 as actually the material cost. But the actual given in note number 5, the direct materials used are 113,500 kgs. This is 113,500 kgs. We double line because that is just mere supply of information. But the cost involved, how much do you spend? You don't require to multiply. We have been given the cost of 4,426,500. So we have 4,426,500. And as we do the comparison, we understand that we should have spent 4.4 million, but we spent 4.426. Therefore, we saved. How much is this? So this is 4,440 minus 4426.5. So this is actually a 13,500 favorable. Now this is where the flexible budget gets meaning. That as you're comparing what we should have spent of 4.4 and this is 4.426, you have a saving. But if you're to compare the original budget of 4.8 and this is a 4.4, you think you have a very big saving. But remember, this is for the original budget of 20,000. This is the actual for 18. Automatically, we must have a difference. But for these two now, we can be able to compare and we make some analysis there. Then when it comes to the direct labor cost, direct labor, first of all, labor hours, as per the budget, we were to use 1 hour. If you look at the budget up there, we were to use 1 hour. So therefore, for 20,000 units, multiplied by 1 hour, that means it's 20,000 hours. That is double line to show that we already have now the 20,000 hours as budgeted. And this now the direct labor cost, it is 20,000 hours. Each hour was 70 shillings as recorded in the budget. We were to spend 70 shillings. So therefore 20 times 70, this would give us 1,400,000. 1,400,000 as a cost. Then when it comes to the flexible, we were to produce 18,500 times 1 hour. So that now we can have 18,500 hours. This is the budget number of hours we were to use for the 18,500 units of production. So these 18,500 hours, we multiply by 70 shillings as our budget cost. So 18,500 multiplied by 70 per hour, this is 1,295,000. 1,295,000. But actually, how many hours did we use? In the note number 5, we used 17,800 hours. 17,800 hours to do the production. But the cost spent is 12,99,400. We spent a cost of 12,99,400, which is 1,299,400. So the comparison shall be, we were to spend 12,95,000, but actually we have spent 12,99,400. That means we have overspent by an amount of 4,000 400, which is adverse. Again, look at it, that we have spent more than expected. So it is actually an adverse. But supposing you were to compare the original budget of 1.4 and this is 1.2, you would have been happy that you have made a saving. But remember, it's because you produce less. Well, that one was a higher level of production. So that's a bad comparison, but the best is where you compare the flexible and the actual. Then there is the variable production overheads. Variable production overheads. This we have been told that we use the information number one, that the variable production overheads vary with units produced. So if you do 20,000 units, each at 30 shillings provided in that cost statement or the standard cost card, that means we have to use 600,000. This is 600,000 the cost that you are to spend as per the budget. But the flexible budget, we were to produce 18,500, but now at 30 shillings. How much money is this that we are to spend? 18,500 multiplied by 30 shillings. This is actually 555,000. That's what we should have spent. But how much do we spend? Actually, in note number 5, we spent a total of 588,000. 588,000. That as we are doing the comparison, we compare the 555 minus the 588. That tells us we have overspent by 33,000. This is 33,000, which is adverse. And that is a good comparison. And like if you were to compare the 600 and the 588, we would have thought that we have made a saving of 12,000. But remember, that saving is because we have produced less. So it's normal, it's known. But when you compare these two now, you are able to make some either analysis and do some investigation on what may have happened. That for the same level of production, you used more hours or more cost than expected. Then the last one is the fixed production overheads that you have been given in note number, I think number 2. Number 2 says that the budgeted fixed production is 1 million. So we have 1 million here. The fixed cost is 1 million. But remember and note something here that when you are talking of a fixed cost, it does not depend on the volume. Whether the volume is higher or lower, the fixed cost is 1 million. And therefore, even if we were to budget for 18,500 units, still the cost or the fixed cost would have been 1 million. We do not flex the fixed cost. We don't flex fixed cost, they remain the same. But the actual cost spent in note number 5 is 1,040,000. So 1,040,000. Now that tells you that you have spent 40,000 over and above. It's adverse. So we compare that way. So note that we don't flex the fixed cost like we have done for the variable and the rest. So it's only this fixed cost that you don't change. Otherwise, the rest we can just multiply by, remember I had told you that we have operated at 92.5%. So everything here you can multiply by 92.5% apart from the fixed that you don't vary. And therefore, that is the point. That's all about the items of cost. And we can now subtract to get the profit. You can subtract that you can get the net profit.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to get yourself a copy of our professionally prepared study text and revision partners. Visit our shop along Tom Boyer Street, Pioneer House, 3rd floor, opposite Fire Station.